It's all about you. It's all about you, baby. Hi, Deborah Fielding here, and today we're talking to Chloe Liebowitz. Chloe runs a business called We Are Tabono, which is an entrepreneurial marketing business, a 12-month program. And Chloe's had quite an input into my life and various others in our community. And we're just going to have a little chat with her to find out how she finds time and the space and the vision to do that. So welcome, Chloe. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, we're going straight in here, Chloe. One thing that I'd like to say about you is when people are going through a tough time, you really do not shy away from a situation, and you're quite resilient and you don't give up. Little bulldog in the nicest possible sense, which when you're going through a rough patch is valuable, really invaluable. And I just wonder what enables you to see that somebody needs underpinning in their life. I mean, it's obvious to see when someone's going through a tough time, but you kind of, if I just use my example for instance, you were in touch. I didn't tell you straight away of my diagnosis, and you sat on the periphery for a little while, and then just swooped straight in with a whole load of things, coming to appointments. And I mean, going up on the sunrise ward for treatment isn't for the faint-hearted, no. But you didn't shy away from that. No. We did radiology together, and various things that we'll talk about in a minute, but you never shied away from it, and you saw what I needed without me having to say to you. I just wonder where that comes from.
I think I've had one other friend, particularly, who had a journey with cancer, and I did go to quite a lot of her radiotherapy appointments with her. And I think for me, I want to support my friends, and I think you kind of do in life what you hope your friends would also do. It's just
if you're in the same situation.
Yeah, and I think that having the company, having someone there to talk to chat to, I think I'm quite good at having a laugh as well, which I think is great. Yeah. Like, it's not a nice thing to do, is it? It's not a nice place to be and really to be going. It's really kind of miserable. No. So it's nice to have a distraction and have a laugh. But I like feeling connected and close to my friends, and I want to help them.
Yeah, and I think
they need a hand.
That's a strong value both you and I share. Yeah. I think we both recognise that in each other. I think that's where we started our friendship from, actually.
Yes,
all those years ago. We were both getting divorced at the time and had no idea what was going to become of us. No. But ultimately, we respect each other's caring sides, I would say, and that's always been present in our friendship. And everybody needs that.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to be there with your friends when times are good. And when you're having a laugh and a great time, right, that's easy to do. But it feels like the most caring and kind of loving thing to be able to be there and be calm.
And so do you find, having experienced that right up at the coalface, when you, as an individual, when you go through tough times of any nature, you do come out of it stronger. You do come out of it with an experience. And my whole reason for doing this podcast is, you can start off as a great person, be slammed in the face with something pretty savage, but I would like people to come out of it greater than they went into it. And I think having people there to underpin you and recognise that life doesn't have to be, for me with the cancer, it doesn't have to claim you. You've always been really supportive of that.
Yeah, and you're right. You go through some tough times, but the biggest thing is that you learn from it, and it does make you stronger. And actually,
doesn't it also, as an individual it does, but as a friendship,
yes,
going through that, wow, yes, what you come out with at the end is something spectacular, really.
Yeah, and friendships are funny things, and we were talking earlier about the friends being there for a reason, a season or a lifetime, which I think you really learn about as you go through life. You don't always get that, and you have friendships that you think you're going to be friends forever, and then things happen and that's tough. But again, you learn about your behaviours and things that you do that actually then you're not so proud of. But I think lots of people can tend to run away from that, or not have the self-awareness maybe to grow from that. But I've definitely found that, whether it's been through my friendships or romantic relationships or relationships with my kids and my stepkids actually, and things that you learn, things happen and they're hard and they're tough to get through, and sometimes you feel like a bit of a victim, or that it's unfair for you. But I always hear that voice now that's picking up on the things that I'm doing that aren't necessarily the best things, not the things that I'm proudest of, but you can learn from that and grow from that.
You can. And I often say one of the funniest things really during this whole experience for me is the daft things people have said to me. But actually it just makes me wonder what daft things I was also saying before I knew. And if you don't know how to respond, do you?
No. And I think people do kind of freak out a bit with the extreme circumstances, and they don't know what to say or what's the right thing, and people often look inward at those times as well, and when things like that happen, it's usually more about that person,
it is,
and what they've got going on.
I think that just understanding that it's a struggle for some people to even stand in front of you and have a conversation. You can see the pain because they have nowhere to go, and actually it's just it's just a normal thing. It's normal to me. I was diagnosed. It's worse for you, but it's normal for me. It's my new normal to have all this going on around me. I think for somebody that's standing in front of you saying something a bit off centre, they don't always. They're fearful and frightened that it might happen to them. And as with anything, leading up to something is always much more painful than when you're actually dealing with it.
Yes.
When you're dealing with it, you get on with it, and then you come out the other side, like I said, hopefully much more resilient and stronger, and touch wood, that's really what's happening for me. And my big passion is to encourage people to do that without having to go through cancer or something.
Yes.
Something savage that's going to come at them.
Yeah.
I think it worries me that people are numbed to life sometimes. We have a lot of pressures and stresses, and I'm really keen to see people raise themselves into their big game without having to go through something horrendous.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think it links in probably with the work that I do in coaching clients and listening to people's stories all the time and the things that they're dealing with. And like you said, actually encouraging them to be more self-aware and look after themselves and make that more of a priority. So perhaps, listening to all those other people's stories and challenges all the time.
Make sure have a better understanding of what life's about, really.
Yes.
It's not all plain sailing.
No. I think I think a lot of it can be circumstantial and what you're used to dealing with. And actually, even for me, I think I was quite a kind of grown-up teenager as well, and my parents were getting divorced when I was sort of 15, and I took quite a responsible role in that, so I wasn't really a rebellious, badly behaved teenager particularly, and I wanted to help my mum. Maybe. But I wanted to help my mum, and kind of help her be okay. So yeah, maybe that was just a kind of, I did that younger.
One of the things I really want to touch on in this chat we're having is one of the ways you swooped in for me was I had a bit of a nasty experience with my daughter's college, and I was worried about getting the fees together and getting her back to college and trying to rebuild my life at the same time, as well as still having treatment and looking after a daughter that was doing GCSEs and a son that was just about to start, he was doing his GCSEs now and all of that. It was such a time. And I remember sitting on the ward and you questioning me about everything from I don't know, my friendships, my health, what I was eating, to my finances, the whole lot. And when you're on the ward for a whole day, of course, you have all this time to talk. So I was pinned to my chair.
Couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah. But actually what came out of that, when I told you what my experience had been with the college, which was pretty heartbreaking, was this amazing amount of support from you. And I'd like you to just explain where that came from. Chloe set up a fund, a Just Giving fund, so that I didn't have to stress about raising my daughter's college fees. I'd have got there somehow, but the stress was immense. It was. And I remember lying on my bathroom floor one Sunday. I'd just completely lost it. I was so poorly, in a mess. It was about 2:30 in the morning, thinking, I don't know what the hell my life's just turning into here. And then of course the worry comes, the fees and the bills and God knows everything else you've got to pay, and food on the table even. And you'd mentioned to me about doing a fund, and I was so reluctant to do it. So I just want to know where that came from, because actually it's been a most beautiful thing.
Well, firstly, I don't feel like I did. I know it's made like a massive impact. I don't feel like I did very much, but the sitting with you on the ward, talking to you and listening to everything that you were trying to cope with, the stress was really clear, and that really bothered me. Particularly bothered me.
And I was being very cheerful when I told you.
Yes, I know. But I could only imagine in my head how that must feel inside, trying to deal with all of that. Just trying to get through the treatment alone is so hard and so awful, and I had seen that before. Trying to do that on your own with 2 teenage children and trying to find money to cover the school fees and everything else that you had to do, it blew my mind, and it made me feel really angry that you were having to struggle to do that. And
well, I've got to just say I've been super lucky in that respect, that my ex-in-laws of all people have been right by my side and helped me out financially, because I don't know where I would have been without them.
Yeah, they've been amazing.
They've been amazing. But it wasn't their role to do that particularly. I know they're the grandchildren and all the rest of it, but they've been, oh my goodness, that relationship with my in-laws is as precious as can be, really. Yeah. So I was very lucky to have them.
Yeah. That's really great that they have been there. But that is, so that really I thought about that fund because a lovely friend of mine who had cancer, their family really struggled and they did a similar thing. So that was kind of in my mind. I was thinking about that. And I think I said to you at the time, what would you want to do if it was me? And you want to help, you want to find a way to help your friends.
As soon as you said that, that was such an easy thing for me, because I mean, I was sat in terror at putting myself out there. I don't know why. I'm not quite sure why. I think it was, I don't know why. I'm quite private. Yeah. And putting myself out there was a big step forward into a spotlight of some description.
That's tough.
But you were great, actually, and you're right, I would want to do the same for you. And you also did say to me that people want to help. And people can't just, you can't, there's 100 and odd donations on that fund.
Yes.
All those people can't knock on your front door, can they? You'd never get well, because it would just be a constant stream.
And most of those people had no idea. A lot of them did know you or know of you. Some people didn't know either of us.
No, I know, which was
didn't know either of us. But people do want to help, and that is that is when being a part of a community, being in a community where people have good, kind hearts and they want to help other people.
It's breathtaking.
And so many people also said to me, well, I hope people would do that if it was me. People want to help each other. And so it was actually a very simple thing to do, but it's made a big impact, and all those people will have felt so pleased that they could help in some way.
Yeah, and I've got new friendships from it, and beautiful things happened. It was an incredible time. Yeah. From going from a really nasty experience came something of complete beauty. And it's just been a fabulous thing that, you know, Maisie is still at college and thriving, which is the best thing. Because the consideration would have been to have taken her out.
Yes.
But I'm always keen to find a route through, and I'm glad I did, because she's doing great.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's a terrific thing, and actually that's something anybody can do for somebody going through a tough time. If they're struggling financially, is to find out the nugget of what's the biggest source of their stress is. And build a fund, or...
Yes. And someone else coming in and doing it and helping and putting it out there simplifies things, because they don't have the emotion around it.
No, it does, exactly right. It was kind of like you were holding my hand and just pulling me out. Which was much easier to do, because there's no way I would have said that upon my own and stepped into that space.
And I don't know how many people would either.
No. And, you know, there were people, I think I was worried about, there were people judging. That was a bother for me. But I thought, actually, this is about my daughter, not about them stood there with their arms folded.
And, you know, we all do that in life. What will people think about this and that? But at the end of the day, that really doesn't matter.
It just doesn't.
It really doesn't matter.
It doesn't. And actually, I think my latest thing is for me to take my shoes off and hand them and say, put those on, you know, and see what my life's like at the minute. Because
that's a good idea.
There's no point standing there with your arms folded when you've got not a clue what's going on in somebody else's life.
Yeah. And, you know, your people will find you. So it's always a good idea to flip things and think, well, what would I think in that situation? What would I do for that person, with that person? And then you kind of get your answer.
And so I think from my perspective, as someone that's gone through a bit of a turbulent time, to say the least, I have my sights firmly set on a big future. I do. And you coming in and supporting that whilst I'm going through that turmoil allows you just a little chink of something to keep yourself facing forward.
Yes.
Because that's vital. The minute you've lost that, you're sailing backwards. It's interesting. People talk about fighting cancer or fighting whatever it is, and I've never wanted to fight the cancer. The cancer was in my body, and I worked with that and got to understand what it was about and where that was for me. The fight actually is the reclaiming of yourself and the rebuilding of yourself and dealing with the side effects from the drugs you're on. That's the fight. It's not the actual cancer. The cancer's a pig, but you have to kind of deal with that, and there's a lot of things to learn from it, if I'm being honest. There is. And for me, I'm lucky enough to be able to sit here and say it's given me more than it's taken away. But you coming in and doing what you did allowed me to still keep a focus on me moving forward, and that was massively important for me.
Well, and you've always got so much go in you, so you're just going again.
Well, I might be going, so but great. Sometimes I go in the wrong direction. I'm not sure.
But we all do that, and that's just part of the journey, isn't it? It's never a straight line. We just meander around and we try the different things, and eventually we just keep moving forward.
You know, I've always said this prior to being diagnosed. You know, when you get to the end of days in your rocking chair and your slippers on, and you know you're looking back down the road, you want it to be a sparkling, fun story, something you can sit there and actually laugh about, and think, you know, at the moment I'm poor as a church mouse, but I'm so rich in my friendships, and to remember all the fun times you've had and the laughter you've had. I mean, surely that's what life's about.
That's so true.
You can't take your bank account with you.
No, you don't want to be. It's like the whole cleaning thing, isn't it? You know, there was that poem or something about cleaning the house and not spending all your time cleaning the house and making
the dust there.
Yes, leave the dust there. And just actually enjoy. And you have to give yourself those reminders sometimes, because we lose sight of it.
Tramples over you. It really does. But anyway, from my perspective here, and I think the nugget of our conversation is, you're a prime candidate as an example for swooping in and helping somebody and not being scared to do that. And I think that's a real important message to give people that are teetering on the edge of being sure what to do.
Because I think people get scared, don't they? And they're like, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, maybe I'll offend. And I think I probably do kind of jump in a bit and ask the difficult questions. But
well, you jumped in, but you weren't unkind in the way that you jumped. No. And when you mentioned the fund, the way you presented it was, I'd like you to think about this. Not we are going to do it, which was probably what I would do. But I'd like you to think about this. And I thought about it for about a second and said to you on the day, no, Chloe, I can't be doing that.
It was probably a month or two later. Was it quite a while later?
I don't know how long it was, but I just remember it was born out of me lying on my bathroom floor at 2:30 with beads of ice cold sweat rolling off.
Yes, and you messaged me the next day.
I said, Chloe, I'm done in here. Yeah. I've had enough. And so then we went from there, and it all went quite quickly and fun. And that's amidst the rest of life, you know. Yes. You've got your own hectic life and launching your new business, which is called what?
Which is called We Are Tabono.
Very nice.
It's very exciting.
You know, everything's go for all of us, and I think surrounding yourself with people that keep you moving towards a better space is the key, and that includes when you're not in a great space too. Don't lose sight of where you can handle. And life can change on a sixpence.
Absolutely.
It can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it. Anyway, thank you so much
for
sitting and having a chat.
Yeah,
and we'll go out and enjoy our sunny day.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that was Chloe. I wanted to pick up on 3 points. The first one being self-care and caring for those you love. I know for sure that I've learnt this year that putting my own oxygen mask on first is absolutely paramount to my well-being. I can't give people of my best if I haven't taken care of myself, if my cup isn't overflowing so that I can then give to others. Caring for those you love comes in many guises, and sometimes it doesn't take much at all. It's just a case of sitting down having a cup of tea with somebody. But you need to be mentally on it and physically on it and nailing yourself to the cross to do things for other people without looking after yourself first is a real foolhardy thing to do. I certainly know that many of us do it, and mothers in particular are very good at doing that. But I've really learned that lesson this year, and it'd be great to know that you could learn it too. Developing your relationships with people can't come if you're not cared for yourself. Second point is, can you set up a Just Giving fund or a crowd fund for somebody where it enables others to contribute and support someone? I mean, it is ridiculous if you think. I've had 140 odd people come onto my support fund. I couldn't have had 140 people knock at my front door, and there were so many people that wanted to contribute to my well-being, and that was a really fantastic way of that happening. They could never have all just shown up and offered their services, and oftentimes people don't know what to offer. It's a difficult procedure to go through, and it renegotiates partnerships, friendships, everything changes when you've got something traumatic go on. But just showing up in a way that you can by donating £5 into somebody's crowd fund if needed is a real special thing to be able to do. I know some people run quiz nights and dances and things like that. So is there anybody in your community that you could do that with? And you don't even have to do it all on your own. You could build a team to do it and have some fun along the way. And the third point is just wanted you to take a moment to think of what your strengths are that can possibly lift up another person. Because for sure, the lifting up of your own life will come as a result of it. And that's a point that lovely Chloe has nailed, and she does in spades. She looks around for people that she can lend her expertise to, her caring side to, her support to. And we all need friends like that in our lives. And the greatest thing is to go out and be a friend like that. It's all about you.